Hey guys, how you doing? It's been a while since we've given you a valuable Earth United update. This one's going to be extremely crucial because we are heading towards some high propensity moments right now. And finally, we will be speaking to Christopher yet again so that he can give us a very clear update on the progress he's made, where it is we stand, and what the direction going forward will look like as we continue to take these steps, step by step, closer and closer towards this victory that we've been working towards for so many months. So without further ado, Christopher, how are you doing?
Hi, Jesse. Incredibly busy, but it's a pleasure to be here today and to get back to communicate to people what's going on. I hope everybody realizes that what we've been working on the last 6 months is it's highly sensitive information, and it's highly important to this world, and it is a great danger to this evil that exists out there when we bring this truth forward. So I'm glad that we're finally here, and as you're going to probably share with everybody, the last 6 months has been quite a journey for us. And what's before us in the next month that's about to roll out here, actually in the next few weeks, is going to be really huge.
Great, thank you very much. So I just want to give a nice recap because there's some incredible progress that's been made on both of our ends. Obviously, number one, with the technologies to support the actions that you're taking. But you've had some great success. We've had some great success within regards to the steps you've taken, and you've actually innovated. We've both innovated our approach. But particularly with what you're doing right now, you've innovated your approach. You've really helped put laser vision focus within regards to what exactly it is that we are supposed to be focusing on right now. So can we speak a bit more about that? And we'll start at particularly referring to the rules of civil procedure and what it is you've been doing within regards to that and what progress it is that you've made.
Well, the key thing that you just touched on there is the rules of civil procedure. For those of you that are hearing this for the first time, I've been doing live streams since August the 6th. Please look them up on my website, awarriorcalls.com, also on BitChute. I'm not sure if they're up on Earth United, but hopefully they'll be there in the next near future. Jesse and I have been running it, a couple of chickens with our heads cut off, it seems like the last 3 months especially. But as far as the rules of civil procedure, I brought this truth out forward that after 20 years of everything that I've been working on here, it comes down to that one question. Do the rules of civil procedure apply to we the people at our public courthouses? And the answer is emphatically no. How we have the evidence of this is that there was a case that we first began to talk about was the Sukleski Court, a gentleman by Michael Sukleski, a man living in Ontario here, and his father had an estate, and unfortunately his father passed away. And what happened was he didn't have a will in place. So what happened is that the lawyers all came in and then they started getting their piece of the pie, so to speak, convoluting the situation and obviously administrating property without right. There's those 3 words that we recap that Jesse and I always talk about: trespass, property, and who. Those are the 3 most powerful words that you need to learn and master when understanding what is going on before you here, not only in the courts, but also outside of the courts when you're interacting with these agencies that are calling themselves government, these service corporations. So what's happened since Michael's case went in, his case went in on, I don't think we've actually talked since then. Actually, your audience probably isn't aware of that, Jesse. September the 12th, 2020, the first claim went in the Sukleski Court. That's what we established in Milton, Ontario here in Canada. It is the first common law court that is actually, again, on the record in probably 200 years that's ever been established. So tying into what Jesse was talking about there, the reason that I launched this Sukleski Court is because I was using that as a vehicle that Estate Act, what these service corporations were applying to this man and stealing and administrating his property without right. Any acts, codes, statutes, rules, and regulations, it's very simple to take those down. Okay, you simply require the people that are applying those to you, say, produce the obligation, okay, which means contract. Show us the contract that I've signed that these rules of civil procedure, which again is in one of my, I think it's the November 13th presentation that I did. It's somewhere in there, late October, early November in my live streams, but I drill down on who, there's that word, who creates the rules of civil procedure. And that is simply a man that's acting as Attorney General in Canada here for the Service Corporation Ontario. And then he has a few other people within his department, a couple of people that wear robes. Again, the people that wear these black robes, that walk around that call themselves judges or justices, they're your public servant. You need to understand that. They work for a service corporation that was created to protect the property of man. That's why all governments were created. So what's happened is that in my approach in bringing this forward, because my train left, as Jesse knew, over a year and a half ago, I was doing something here in Canada, which was to surround our courthouses with 100,000 people I was looking to do with this knowledge and truth that included all these first line responders, such as police, doctors, nurses, that we're all standing there collectively and together. And we understand that we've got a problem at our public courthouses, that there's there's fraud that's occurring within them, and that we need to correct this on the record, openly, honorably, and courageously. So that's what I set out to do. And then what happened when this whole COVID thing started to come into play in early January or late December of last year, I recognized, as Jesse and many other people that have been paying attention, that this was all based on fraud, that this was something much larger that was going on in our world. And I came forward to do what I did. For those to recap, it was because some horrific things happened to me and my family. Nothing nefarious that we did at our end, but because of this system and this evil that's out there, it destroyed my family. They ended up murdering my father to keep me quiet when I was involved in a massive pension case suit, once I started to understand the truth that was going on. And I made a promise to my father to hold these people accountable. And that's what ultimately led to today. So it started with a court case that got filed in 2019, the Manery claim. And all these case files are on my website. You can download all the documentation, which I recommend everybody does, because just in reading these documents, okay, they're not written in legal terms. They're written in common law. That's the common language between our fellow man. And everyone is going to understand simply what is being communicated, how powerful the communication is, and why this is our public courthouses right now are about to get restored to the common law. It's truly a beautiful moment. So what I set out to do, Jesse, and ultimately what you were doing as well, is bringing this vehicle forward. Jesse and I both, we knew things were going to come to a head around this time, somewhere between middle of November to end of this year. We knew that's when everything was going to pop, between the elections with Trump and other things that were going on at our end. It was all morphing to that. And we just let go and we let God. And both of us I know Jesse will probably speak to it. He's worked his arse off to get all this incredible productions and the application and the software. He's been drilling down on that side of it to make sure that this is all good to go when we release this on December the 10th. And as a result of this, on the 10th, we're going to be able to share with everybody these cases now that it's actually evolved from the Michael Sukleski court, which has now exposed the rules of civil procedure. They've been trying to kick it out, Jesse, since September the 12th. And when I say they trying to kick it out, this is the Attorney General's office and lawyers. And they keep filing communications into the court file, all right, into the Sukleski court that we've filed, to the registrar, asking her, requesting her to remove this file from the courthouse. Why? Because it doesn't fall under the rules of civil procedure. This is the ultimate thing for us, Jesse, is that, I came to the realization is that the bar in our public courthouses, they've been blocking all the people, all because of this one thing, the rules of civil procedure. So now we're proving, I've had communications, I've had four communications from lawyers, actually 5 now, another one came last week. Just, the Sukleski court, who it is actually who we are actually going after within this claim, it's 10 people, okay, not acting names, not a respondent, an applicant. It's 10 people, your fellow man and woman. That's what the common law is about. Well, who are these 10 people? Well, 2 of them happen to act as justices, and the other 8 are all lawyers, bar members, okay, parasites. These are the ones that have been pillaging and administrating property without right, the estate of Michael's late father, okay? So what has happened is when you understand the truth of the simplicity that's going on with our public courthouses, Jesse, and everyone out there, is that you only need to understand that the rules of civil procedure don't apply to us, and that it's a public courthouse, and that you have every right to move your claim in court against another man or woman. And you're not bound by all these rules and processes that they've got in place that actually hinder you, cause you wrong and harm, that's trespassing against you when you go to these public courthouses. And the bar, Jesse, and everyone out there, they're terrified. They're terrified right now. So through the grace of God, this is the first salvo that I did on September the 12th with Michael. So I've got the rules of civil procedure. Anyone that's been trying to follow it, they've been trying to kick it out. Now, why this is so important? With the Manery case, which is the first case on my website, which was launched in September of 19, how they got that claim, that common law court, the Manery court, out of that public courthouse, is a woman from another court system. Again, she's a public servant. Her name's Linda Templeton. She removed that filing, that claim, our property, from that public courthouse without our knowing and without right. And also the court clerk didn't know that it got removed. And we have all this evidenced on tape. This is all going to get brought out in the near future. So what happened was that she removed it. She placed a ruling on it, 14-page ruling she wrote back to us, Jesse, telling us that this is in September of 19th of 2019. She wrote back saying that, number one, Brent Manery cannot file any more claims into the public courthouses, and that his claim was vexatious and it had no standing. Just so everybody knows, the claim was made against the man named Doug Downey, who is acting as the Attorney General for the Ontario provincial government. We've caught him and multiple of his officers stealing and terrorizing people, their property, their farms. They've destroyed this farmer family. So this is who we were going after. So this woman that's acting as this judge in another court, again, for the service corporations, well, didn't she work for the Attorney General's office for many years prior to getting her judge appointmentship? So of course she's going to, run ruckshot over this. And surely enough, she wrote a 14-page ruling, all right, why that this claim has to be removed from the courthouse. Well, we go back to what Jesse just talked about. What was her 14 pages or whatever is multiple pages ruling based on? The very first line that she says, and this is what I teach and show people, how easy it is to attack and take down their corruption. We simply wrote to her, produce the obligation, that means contract, that the rules of civil procedure apply to I or Brent. That was the Brent Mannery of the farm case. We wrote it 3 times to them, right? We've sent it registered mail, email, and fax. That's what you do honorably. Also to the Chief Justice at that time. Again, this is last year, September, October of 2019. We didn't get a single response back, and they're required to. Why didn't they respond? Because they know as soon as they can't prove that the rules of civil procedure apply to either people, everything that they've done, they're going to be liable for. Okay, they've obstructed a man accessing a public courthouse, which is his right to move a claim against another man or woman outside of a legal society, the bar, which he does not belong to. So that was the first one, Jesse, on September 12th. Then shortly after that, what came to me on November the 10th, was a Wednesday, I believe it was, I get a call from a gentleman named Mac Pahar. Mac Pahar is a man that lives in British Columbia. He's on the other side of the country from you here in Canada, British Columbia near Vancouver. And he had a yoga store, Jesse, a yoga shop for 11 years, successful, had about 200 to 300 continual members that were coming through his establishment. He was well liked. He was doing a very good business. He took out a $500,000 loan at one point that he was still paying off. Well, when this COVID stuff all came and all this lies and deceit, when they started attacking the businesses, his business got destroyed, like so many other people. Well, he fought back. He still opened up his store and he said, okay, we'll have the social distancing, even though we know that's all based on lies now, that's all coming out now. And he tried to comply. Well, they started writing him up tickets. And then the CBC, that's the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. That's the, how should we say, the national news station that's supposed to be a publicly owned, paid for entity that's supposed to be bringing the news to the people of this country honorably. Well, they ran out and they did some pieces on him that weren't too kind to him, so to speak, because he's a man that believes in the flat earth. And so they started attacking him on that vein, et cetera, that, he was just a conspiracy theorist and all this other stuff. Well, fast forward from May of last year when these tickets and that were being thrown around and he was supposed to be brought into court. He went to travel outside of Canada. It was at the beginning of November of this year. And then when he came back, they first he had a big blow up with him, obviously getting on the plane with the mask and that. And he's been banned from Air Canada from flying on their planes anymore because he wouldn't wear the masks, even though he had an exemption with him written from a doctor as well. They still wouldn't accept it, as many people are finding out that are trying to get onto planes and using these exemptions. It's really draconian what's going on. So because of that, when he came back from his trip, Jesse, all of a sudden the provincial government, the Service Corporation, agents and officers came to him and told him, because you traveled outside of the country, you have to be quarantined in your house for a couple of weeks. Well, he told them go blow, basically, in a nice way of putting it. He probably said some other choice words, but he said, I'm not locking myself in my home. He says, I'm going to continue to live my life as I am. And he told him, he says, this whole thing with the COVID is all based on lies and deceit. And he was quoting and using various doctors that all of us now know that have the evidence that are eventually now going to be brought into a public courthouse. So when he didn't stay at home, they followed him around, Jesse, for a few days. And then they ticketed him once. And then the second time they caught him, then they locked him up. And they put him in jail for 4 days. His wife didn't know where he was. And you think, well, he's allowed a phone call, isn't he? Well, of course he is. But guess what they do, Jesse, when they bring you into these jails now, right? Oh, they've got to test everybody for COVID. They can't have anybody going into the system that's got COVID. Well, lo and behold, they do a test on him, as you all know from probably what Jesse's been talking about in his prior show surrounding the PCR test and many other people that are describing it, that is completely not meant for this testing, right? It's actually grabbing all the garbage and giving all these false positives. So Mac all of a sudden tests positive, right? In the jail. Now he's a hot potato. They won't let him use the phone because he can't touch the phone. He could have COVID and pass it on to somebody else. So he's locked up in there for 4 days and finally gets released. And then when he gets released, again, they've been all over him to move a claim in court against him as quickly as possible. So Matt called me on Wednesday the 10th. I brought him onto my live stream show, which you can find on my live streams, to share with everybody what had happened to him in real time. Mac was supposed to be in court on the following Monday. Okay, so all I had was Friday to get anything into the courts. He originally only called me, Jesse, to ask for an hour of my time to help him. I couldn't just give him an hour of my time because I saw the importance and magnitude of what this man was doing. He was willing to stand up for the entire country, for all the people, to bring this truth into the light. And when he communicated that to me, I said, Mac, I'm going to stand shoulder to shoulder with you on this. So I stayed up all night on the Thursday night prior, and I prepared his claim, a common law claim that he got filed the next day on Friday, which is an incredible story again, Jess. I mean, I know we want to keep this short for everybody, but you should watch my live streams, and you're getting it in real time as these things happened when he went to the courthouse. First, he got blocked by the court staff from filing the paperwork, which I told them that they were most likely going to do if he's not going to use their forms. So you learn how we got around that, and the long and the short of it is, you just write across the top of their forms, "I use this form only for the ease of court clerk filing purposes." That's it. And you write that across the top of every one of their forms. You can put the odd little bit of information, but in Mac's case, there's all this legal terms. This is what you have to understand. Their forms at the courthouses are all based in a legal world. A man or woman never uses those legal forms. As soon as you do, you have no rights or anything walking into their court system. You are being represented by a lawyer, or you're representing or self-appearing yourself in their legal world, and you don't have a hope in hell. So that's why the common law is so powerful. So we got this court claim filed, and this is going against the top man that's overseeing the Service Corporation. He's the Premier of British Columbia, the top man that's acting as Attorney General, the top man or woman that's acting as the Health Minister, the top man that's acting as the Chief of Police in British Columbia, and also there was one other woman that we brought in that's acting as the Senior Counsel for the Attorney General's office, who's not willing to stop when the evidence being laid before that she's causing enormous wrong and harm without any evidence to back up what she's doing. So that happened. All right. So we got that filed on the Friday. Then he was in court the next Monday. That court, they couldn't get jurisdiction over him. I gave him the paperwork. Again, you see this all in my broadcast, what he took in, what he filed. They couldn't get jurisdiction over him. They actually brought him into a third court at the end, and he shouldn't have gone back in, but he did. Mac's never done this stuff before, and that's why this is also beautiful, because everybody looking at this needs to see that Mac is no different than you or I, okay, or Jesse, is that this man has never been in this position before, and he's trusting in this truth that I've brought forward to them, and he's bringing it into the court now for the people to see. So they couldn't get jurisdiction over him that morning, so they had to kick the can down the road to the following Monday again. Well, and all that time that passed on the Monday goes back the next Monday, and then it was just a complete, pardon my language, shit show. Mac showed up. They wanted to do a Zoom call. Okay, the reason they wanted to do a Zoom call, because the week before, he had about 50 supporters that were out in front of him, which the mainstream media came and covered. Global was out there, and I believe CBC also came out to see him at that time. Anyways, they didn't get control of him that week. And then the following week went on, and then there was this whole process again. You should watch it on the live stream that I've done. At the end of the day, right now, Mac, they have not got jurisdiction over him. They're trying to move, I believe, a court. They put it down for January the 22nd. We're going to come back around on this. And to show you that my claim that I've created, the common law claim, is all true, and what's occurring is we just got a communication late Friday from the man who's acting on behalf of all these agents and officers of this Service Corporation. Okay, he's the lawyer. He's the law firm that's representing them. Now, how that's going to work in Mac's case, as it worked with Michael's, as I was telling you, they were trying to put paperwork, right, their property into our case file. All right, and if anyone does not have any standing in a case file, they can't put any documentation into it. So that's only the people that are named in the filing of the Skleski Court, only the people that have been named in the Pahar Court. So for those of you that don't know, that when you establish your own common law court, you use your name, your family name, your middle name, whatever, but that's how you identify the court. In this case, in Milton, it's the Skleski Court. That's his last name. And in British Columbia, it's the Pahar Court. And these are two courts that have been established now on the record that they're not able to kick out of the courthouses now. And this is when it's going to get real exciting. And then the final thing came to Jesse and I, because Jesse and I are both very spiritual and we believe in our Creator. It was just last week again, another man reached out to me at the last minute. His name was Adam, and you'll definitely have seen it online. Adam's Barbecue. If you type it into YouTube, you're going to see that he had his establishment surrounded by about 60 police officers last week. He was refusing all these lockdown orders because they were destroying his business, and the people rallied around him. The first 2 days they came, they were lined up out the door. He ran out of food. And then the third day or second day the police came down heavy on him with 60 police officers. They locked his doors. They banned him from going into it. Then they ended up arresting him and charging him with obstruction on his own property, and put him in jail for overnight to sleep it off. When he was released, he reached out to me, and he just came to see me this past Sunday. So that's why this is so exciting right now, Jesse, because everything is lined up for us in a row. Let's
elaborate a bit more on that, because these are all supplementary to the core strategy, correct? Which is to move, a claim with massive supports, right?
Yep.
So this is proving to be quite supplementary, especially considering the media attention and the ability, as we had strategized initially, to actually bring worldwide attention to that. And the best way to do that in our number one solution and objective and strategy is just to get a massive amount of people actually aware and all supporting these claims as they're consolidated in their people power.
Yeah, and we have to have, that's the one equation of it, and then the first part that has to come, like I always say, the cart before the horse, is I had to have my ducks in a row, right? We had to have these claims established in the public courthouses with the correct writing, with the correct jurisdiction that's been established, so that when we bring these now out to the attention, and that's why this has worked so beautiful, Jesse, is I got communications today from the CBC. All right, they want to do an interview with me in a documentary, it looks like, on Pahar. So how we do this moving forward, can't disclose everything because it's like a battlefield for us, but let's just say between these three incredible men, Adam, Mac, and also Michael, we are going to rock this world, because all three of their cases are all the same, and all three of them support each other, what Jesse was just discussing there a second ago, and it's absolutely huge right now. We couldn't ask for to be in a better position right now, Jesse. It's really incredible.
Yeah, and on a global aspect, can we speak about the benefits of this towards a global aspect? Because at the end of the day, it really all does come down to awareness. The more people are aware, the more people are connected in their awareness and formalizing their physical communities, the closer we can get to people getting used to the idea of supporting this mass global action. So that's why we've gone ahead and created the technologies, put that in place, particularly number one, to, of course, secure communication across all of us. Number two, to connect you towards your fellow brothers and sisters in your direct regional network, your direct regional environment, and then allow you to connect to others as well in these 4 different chat groups, which is your town, city, country, global. And that gives us this communication channel. So these documents we're speaking about will also be available on the application. And this whole process that Chris is describing can be replicated, essentially. Isn't that correct, Chris? So that's why we've created the application, so that we could secure the communication, but then also provide a templated guideline in order for people to essentially, with the numbers that occur within their countries, closing in on the targets that we've set in the application, that you guys will actually be able to take the law into your own hands. In the sense of this solution that allows you to just bypass government by the simple question of, do the rules of civil procedure apply to I, the living man, or the living woman? And that question alone destroys them. It absolutely destroys them, because it puts them in a position in terms of legal language and common law language. Well, we'll call it common law language, but it's sitting outside of these private corporations' jurisdiction. And it's unbelievable that a question as simple as that is really the dagger to the heart. And that's what's so beautiful about what it is we're proposing. I know Chris is speaking about a whole lot of stuff, and it might sound a bit complicated, but the only thing you have to know is essentially that question alone, because that question it literally gives us the ability all over the world in order to step outside of government jurisdiction, and for them to invalidate any of these legislations and nonsensical rubbish upon us, and actually allow us to put forward our court and get remedies for the trespasses that have been committed against us.
Yep. And that's right. And why it's so important, that's why the beauty of this application that Jesse's created here, like the timing of all this, like I said, I've said in all my talks before, Jesse, we've talked about it in the past, that nothing happens by accident. And this has just been an incredible journey since Jesse and I met each other up until this point, and it's going to get really, really interesting moving forward, because what is happening here is, as Jesse's referring to the documents that will be on the application, and that we have this common law court system. The court systems around this world are all based on the same premises Jesse was talking about. They're all based on the rules of civil procedure. And once you bring that out into the light, every country around the world, once they see this happen in Canada, it's going to happen right around the world. We're working with Ireland, Dolores Cahill, which is absolutely wonderful, got her full support in this as well, because she's very much involved and entrenched in the common law. And that's why this is a beautiful moment right now, because what happens in Canada here, when I was working with the groups out in Australia, we had a retired justice of the peace that were on some of these calls a few months ago. And when they were looking for forms, and I was trying to help them with, preparing their paperwork for Australia, because it's the same shtick that goes on in every country in court, how they're blocking us, what they're doing, using this bar in the rules of civil procedure. We were starting to look at the different forms that the various countries were putting out, these service corporations. Well, they're the same form. in every country, like the 14A form here in Canada, which is a statement of claim form. They put those forms there to help guide people that are unfamiliar with the legal world, right? How to file your paperwork. But you can still use that form so that it looks almost like it's a legal filing, but it's not. And that's where the words come in that are key, that it's a common law filing. And we've established this now in 3 courts. And that's why this is very exciting, because, you know, moving forward, Jesse, everybody's going to see in real time here, real time. Okay, in the next 3 weeks here, massive court actions that are going on, and we're going to bring the world's attention to it. So that's why I'm so excited about the application software for Jesse and for our world, because it's going to bring such that connectivity that Jesse's talking about, that we can really have in real time, you know, streamline these communications and truth and get it to the world. And people are going to build and grow from this, and it's going to be beautiful, man. So great job. Great job. I take my hat off to you for all the hard work that you've done on the application and the video productions. Jesse's just been off the charts. I want everyone to know that as well. You know, we've really both drilled down here, and now it's coming to a final head for the 2 of us.
Yeah, and I just want to let everyone know that the application is a continual development process. And so, you know, we're about, as Chris said, from the 10th, that's how close we are to having perfected it to work seamlessly and beautifully on all Android devices. And immediately after that, we're going to go ahead and start developing the web version. The reason for that is because, you know, Apple's a bit of a risk. So we'd rather ensure that anyone with a computer or a phone can log on and essentially access that. We'll keep adding features that can help enrich the application to empower you, the people on the ground. Because at the end of the day, you're the most powerful people. You're the guys on the ground. Because without the people power, without the support, without the consolidated power, I'll say it again, that's what we truly, truly require. We require to be connected, more connected than ever, because as we get connected and organized, then we can actually push forward towards this ultimate goal that we're all working towards, which is ridding us of our enslavement. Now, the application, as I said, we're just going to continue to keep developing it to make it an unbelievable state-of-the-art application with your support. We really do appreciate each and every little bit of your support, because you guys have actually made this happen. The strategy behind the technology really was to experience exponential growth. I mean, when you have a application that experiences great market adoption, you generally tend to experience, well, actually all the time, you tend to experience exponential growth. So within regards to our awareness and getting this message out there, we have to rely on these innovative strategies in order to access some of the opportunities and potentials of accessing this exponential growth. Because that truly is the key. You know, once we actually become even more successful in this, in consolidating people around the world, that's never really been done before on this level. You know, so consolidated people power is one thing that hasn't really been done, especially not within this direction, with this exceptionally simple solution that has the ability to blow the lid off this governmental control and deception and enslavement. I'm looking forward to this. Myself and Christopher have been working, complementing each other in their strategies. He's an expert in those fields. He's achieving such wonderful results. And I'm, in my background of marketing and communications and, you know, business strategy, I'm doing everything in my ability to help us get this exponential reach and get this exponential growth. So thank you guys so much for all your support. With your continued support, we're going to make this even better. We're going to make this unbelievable, because we truly have to step up to that level right now. You know, even with Chris taking on all these claims, you know, and how they strategically all complement each other, and the media attention and the application. This is potentially a recipe for something really, really good. So I'm looking quite forward to the future, Chris, and I'm so grateful for all the work you've been doing and all the results you've been achieving.
Yeah, let me just add on that, Jesse. One part that I didn't talk to everybody about, we've been simply talking about, you know, the rules of civil procedure. So what I've done within my courts that I've established here for other people, the common law courts, where I'm acting as prosecutor, or at least an agent or officer of their court, is that right now I've actually got another case in Nova Scotia with a woman that deals with, again, family court. And they were applying the Parenting and Support Act to her, some family divisional policy thing to her, and then what else? The rules of civil procedure. So a communication, again, when you go to my website, her documents are going to be uploaded. I did the broadcast on it last night. I have achieved in 3 different territories, okay, in Canada here, in the East Coast, in Ontario, and on the West Coast out in British Columbia. I've established communications now that have all gone right up to the top chief justices, Okay, the one of Canada for the Sklesky Court, both the Governor Generals at the federal level and the provincial level, the four top people have all been given these communications that we have trespassing occurring at these public courthouses, and we require, that means demand, that they put on the record with their wet signature the verifiable written evidence that the rules of civil procedure apply to we the people. And if they don't do that, then they have to correct these court actions that are occurring right now where these people that are supposed to be providing services to us, the ones wearing the robes, are trespassing against us left and right, and they're liable. And that's why this is so huge. So I've got this at the Supreme Court, the highest court levels in 3 places across this land and country. And it's perfect timing for this conversation. I began this again, like I said, with the communications on the rules of civil procedure with Michael initially. And they began back with the 8 lawyers we were dealing with and the justices or whatever back in July, August, we started really hitting them. You got to produce this document with this wet signature, the obligation that you're relying upon to be moving this court forward. See, that's what they're basing all their fees. They base the process and everything under how their court is moving. It's all under the rules of civil procedure. But once you take those rules of civil procedure out of the way, all of a sudden it's a man and a woman standing there, and that man or woman who's making the claim has to present it to their jury of their peers. And then the man that you've made the claim against for trespassing, whatever that wrong or harm is, he then gets his opportunity to bring forth his evidence. And then the jury goes off and deliberates, and they come back with a verdict on whether your claim be true or not. And if it's true, then first and foremost, they're going to make you whole. And then there's the punitive side of it if it's warranted. And you can imagine what the punitive is on all of this when you think about what they've done to this man, Adam, in his barbecue shop, terrorizing him. The people were all rallying around him. He wasn't causing any wrong or harm. And we all know the lie that's surrounding the COVID-19 now. And then the same with Mac Pahar out there, another brilliant man that worked for 11 years building up a business for his family, and they destroyed it all based on a lie. And then when he tried to reach out and at least still exist on this world and walk and act like as a man, they want none of it. They want to lock you up. They want you forced to wear your masks. And again, I'll say this also. There was a brilliant thing that happened. I found out last night, just as we were doing my live stream, a woman called into the show, and she told us that the Calgary police, they all come out every weekend for these walks that they do. And they've always been very supportive of them. And this time they got an order to come down because this minister, who's always been attacked under the last year, was trying to hold a service. And they were sent out there by their superiors to, hand out tickets, arrest anybody that does it. Well, the police all showed up. The people were there trying to get into the church, whatever was going on. And then all of a sudden, the police got everyone's attention. They told everybody while they were there. And then they said, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this against the people. We do not agree with these orders that are coming from above. They have no jurisdiction, something to those effect. Well, I'm trying to get the actual audio tape from it. But this woman witnessed it, and the police let everybody, as they were required to do, go about how they were doing it. They were in fist bumping, all the people saying, we're standing with you on this. We know there's something wrong. So this is the worm that we're seeing turning, Jesse, in the world. You had the 70 police officers in Australia there 3 weeks ago that all came forward exposing that this is all a lie surrounding COVID-19 because they're on the front lines to be mandated to get these vaccines. See, all these people that are working in police or fire services or nurses, they're all on the chopping block, the first ones, right? Because they're in contact with all the public supposedly all the time. So they've got to lead by example. But the police are starting to recognize, wait a minute, you're not sticking this needle in me if I don't consent to it. Now they're learning that all this is nothing more than a common flu, and it's been used to instill all this fear. So that's why it's beautiful that Jess and I are coming up, and I haven't seen it, and I told Jess he sent me the draft already of the incredible production he's put together here with all the video work he's been working on for 5 or 6 weeks, and I don't want to watch it until December 10th myself. I watched the intro bit and the outro, but it's because I know Jesse's going to move the world with this, and I want to see that in the real time at that moment. And that's a great moment for Jesse and I. It's a great moment for this world where this truth is finally going to come out simply into the public. And we've got all these core pillar things in place, the Sklesky Court, the Pahar Court, and then it's going to be the Skelly Court. That's Adam that's up here in Canada that we're going to secure. And the world's going to see this go down in real time. So it's very exciting, Jesse. And like I said, hopefully you're going to be able to catch all these live stream because we're going to start live streaming all these communications. Like I say, the media is all over Adam. Their medium's now going all over Mac Pahar and British Columbia. So we've got a beautiful vehicle, as Jesse and I always planned, that it's going to be like moss to a flame, that they're going to come to us when the moment is right. And it's through all our efforts and work now that this has all finally come to fruition. So it's a great time, Jess. Really great time.
Well, thank you very much, Christopher, for giving us a long-awaited update. It's super duper important. It's catching everyone up to speed. Thank you so much for your time and very optimistic message, and I'm looking forward to seeing the results. So let's, keep strong and keep going forward with this, and we'll keep you guys updated as much as possible.
Yep.
But right now, look out for the 10th of December, and that's when we're going to be releasing everything. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. Without you guys, we would not have made it to this point, and I believe that there really is opportunity for something truly special to happen here, as we just require one massive big victory. And I think we've worked quite well towards actually working towards achieving that. And I really do believe we're around the corner. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of this transpire. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, everyone. I appreciate
bless.
everything. Thank you.